Everybody set, guys. Let's play ball. Break! Break! Break two! Break!
Hello, my name is Rick Robertson, and I'm the USSSA National Slow Pitch Umpire-in-Chief. Hopefully, what you're about to see today will better prepare you to meet the challenge of calling balls and strikes. In order to give you a better understanding of how to call balls and strikes, we're going to utilize live game action, graphics, and interviews with players, directors, and umpires. I'm standing on what is probably the most important part of the ball field, the pitching rubber. Once the umpire puts this ball in play, the challenge begins. The challenge ends whenever the umpire calls a ball or a strike using the information and techniques he's learned over the years. That challenge renews itself on each and every pitch. The pitched ball shall not rise higher than 10 feet above the ground.
Hustle them on and off, 3 feet from release, 10-foot max. You know, we don't want to hear arguments of balls and strikes, okay?
I'm not a real low ball pitcher, so I love the high pitch.
If a pitch comes in high, where it's a borderline 10-foot pitch, if the pitch doesn't land directly behind that plate, it's pretty much over the top shoulder.
Come on, work it.
It's too high, it's too high. It's over 10, full count.
The higher the pitch is, it has to land a lot closer to the plate to be called a strike so that it doesn't cross that behind that back shoulder for being a deep pitch.
Nope. He come that high, he can't come that deep.
If I'm pitching it deep, and it could be over the top or over the shoulder, and that's the most difficult one to get. You have to let the pitcher know in the first 3 innings whether it's over the shoulder or just flat out deep.
Nope. He was over his back shoulder. 10 feet. 10 feet.
2. Time. Over the top. No, sir. It was good on height, it was over the shoulder.
Some guys will float a ball up there that looks really good, but it crosses behind the back shoulder. To me, as a batter, I can't hit that pitch. Shouldn't be a strike because it's not a strike in the rule book.
That high, it's going to come clear his back shoulder. The only thing, he's looking at the back shoulder.
Yeah.
In order to determine if a pitch exceeds 10 feet above the ground, umpires can use various techniques to set that 10-foot limit in their mind.
10-foot height is 10 foot from the ground, is a 10-foot basketball height, and that's usually what I use as far as judging the height of the pitch.
Normally, at the ballpark that I call at, there's a rail on a fence that's on each side, and I've kind of got my ideas with that because it's a 10-foot rail. Where that's my point. If it's clearing that, then it's a little too high. If he's staying under it, close to it, then that's fine. No, you can't be exact, but if it's close enough to that 10-foot railing that I come adjusted to, then I can call it that way.
Others will use a pole or a building or a tree in the background to set that 10-foot limit. Once you've set your limit, be consistent from the first pitch to the last. Any pitch that exceeds 10 feet above the ground becomes an unfairly delivered pitch and will be called a ball once it reaches or crosses home plate unless the batter swings at it. The flat pitch is one of the most difficult pitches for our umpires to be consistent with across the country. The higher the classification, the more the pitcher is going to challenge you. To me, a flat pitch is one that comes straight in with no arc, not necessarily with excessive speed. In our rule book, to be a fairly delivered pitch, the pitch must reach a minimum of 3 feet from the point of release to a maximum of 10 foot above the ground.
Ball. You're still coming at me. Give me up and down. Something.
In your judgment, If the pitch has not reached a minimum 3-foot arc from the point of release, that's to be considered a flat pitch. That pitch shall be called a ball when it reaches or crosses home plate unless the batter swings at it.
In California, we play with a flat ball. Anything over 7 feet is basically illegal.
And of course, I don't call a lot of flat pitches. It's just where you come from and just trying to get it consistent. And I did learn, you know, they're used to flat there. And if they don't get it, they want to complain, but they'll eventually figure out that this umpire is not going to give them the flat pitches, and they'll bring them up.
When a pitcher's standing straight up, good rule of thumb, when the pitch is released, if you can get the pitch coming up from your eyeballs, right at your eyeball level, because release from here, now you're going to get 3 feet. You can get the pitch coming eye level and floating through the strike zone, you got a strike.
Work it.
Strike! It's enough. That's enough. He's coming down here.
You have to first see where's the pitcher releasing the ball from. If he's bending over, releasing the ball from just above the ground, then you can anticipate that the umpire is going to give him a relatively flat pitch. If he throws the ball from his hip, then you can expect the ball to get up above the bill of the cap.
When I'm mixing like this, consistency, because all I do in the first 2 innings is feel the umpire out. If I'm pitching kind of flat, I release down here and you only have to hump 3 feet from release, and the guy's calling it flat, I got to do it 4 feet from release.
That's fat. Got to slow it down there. Let's go. 1-1. Don't worry about it. I got to take care of you. Just bat. Okay, let's play ball.
I'm looking for pace. I think if you're an umpire, you should set your own pace on what a flat pitch is. You know, I mean, in your own mind, you've got to set what you think. If it comes in fast, was that the pace that took enough time to get to the home plate that it could have had arc on it?
Slow it down, please.
The umpire shall warn a pitcher on any excessive speed pitch. Any repeat of an excessive speed pitch, he shall be removed from the pitching position for the remainder of the game.
And those are really the controversial calls. A lot of players will stand there, that pitch will come in flat just below the knee but cross the plate. And those are the calls that the batters get upset with sometimes, because even though they cross the plate, they're not really high enough to hit. And if the umpires establish that as a strike, then the batter needs to know to move himself up in the box so that pitch, if it's going to be a strike, you've got to get it up to where you can hit it. So that's one of the toughest part of hitting, I think, is when that flat pitch comes in, it's being called a strike, you've got to really know to adjust yourself. Now, the smart pitchers will see you move up and try to drop a couple deep on you because they know what you're doing, but that's what makes the game exciting.
USSSA is 3 from release, but you got to remember that the ball has to go up and down. And if you don't get that up and down arc, it just can't be a strike. And I think more of the umpires have gotten into that, and that's the reason why we see less and less flat pitches, because umpires have now realized that you have to have an arc in the ball.
Flat. It's hard to get consistent because they call it different in each part of the United States, but to get more consistent, getting the hump on the ball and leaving the hump on the ball, then the pitches will come up. They'll stop trying to throw that knee-high pitches in there.
Gotta give me a little bump. 2-0.
You develop a sense to it, what's too high and too low.
The strike zone is that space directly above home plate, which is not higher than the batter's highest shoulder, nor lower than the bottom of the batter's front knee, when the batter assumes his natural batting stance. Any part of the pitched ball is a strike.
The whole idea is you have to look at the batter, you have to size up his natural stance, and you're calling home plate. Too many people in the pitchers in the lower divisions, they just want to throw the ball to the batter where the batter is. And again, the good umpire knows that you're calling to the plate. You just parallel right from the highest shoulder, and the ball comes through the body. If the ball is coming through the body, it can be a strike.
I look for the umpire on the strike zone to call a strike as the rule book is written. Rule book's real simple. It gives the umpire a lot of flexibility, and that is 3 feet from where it leaves the hand and no higher than 10 feet from the ground. I see a lot of pitches that an umpire calls a deep pitch as a ball because where it lands in relationship to the plate. And in essence, that ball actually went between the shoulder and the knee. It got its 3-foot minimum arc from when it left the hand, and it was no higher than 10 feet, and I see umpires consistently call those as balls.
I don't see anything I'd like to see change with the USSSA strike zone of balls and strikes. Like I said, it's the best game there is. As long as you have a good umpire, and there's a lot of good umpires out there.
I like an umpire who gives you every bit, the 3-foot, the 10-foot. You have to change because, you know, the rules say, 3 to 10-foot arc. Just because a guy comes out throwing a 5-foot pitch in the first inning doesn't mean he has to the whole game. And a lot of times I think umpires lock themselves in, but if they get I'd like to think of myself as a pretty good pitcher, and I change it up, high, low, just so that, a hitter can't be comfortable. And I think umpires need to adjust with that and, let a decent pitcher, work his stuff. It's not easy when you're lobbing a ball, 2 miles an hour, but, if a decent pitcher can screw up a batter, and I like to think, I try to do that.
Some batters like to move themselves up in the box or deep in the box. A good umpire will call the ball as it approaches the plate and as it crosses the plate, and then let the batter adjust himself in the stance. So in other words, some players like the ball up high, so they move up in the box so that if the pitch comes and lands with the proper arc up to 12, 16 inches behind the plate, it can be called a strike, and that batter's got to adjust to it. Now if the pitcher's throwing the ball flatter, the ball can come through a little bit further, maybe even up to 24 inches behind the plate and still be a strike.
I normally do more where the plate is. A lot of batters, they walk forward, they run forward in the batter's box. Some stand way back, and some stand a long way forward. I usually try and call the plate.
It's very difficult when the catchers move up and catch the ball before it lands. Gives an umpire a tough, they don't have a reference spot that they can look at.
Plate! Nope, on the side of it. One ball. Let it come all the way through, please.
Unfortunately, I believe the umpires call strikes based on a lot of times where the batter's standing and not the plate. A lot of times, especially when you get up in the majors, the players will move up in front of the box, and the ump still calls the pitch from the armpit down. Shouldn't be the case. It should be where the home plate is. Well, what that does, though, that means the umpire's calling this deep pitch that I'm saying he shouldn't call. Well, he shouldn't call it if they're standing at the plate, but if they're in front of the plate, he should call that as a strike.
The one I rung him up on had a nice arc. He complained that the pitch never crossed the plate. It was outside. Well, it wasn't. It crossed the corner of it. It was close, true, but it did catch the corner. That's all that matters. Strike! Ready? Yes, it did.
The zone should never change, and it doesn't change. But as far as calling balls and strikes, everybody's got their own style and got their own opinion.
Illegal pitcher's actions include the pitcher holding the ball longer than 5 seconds, him throwing to any other fielder unless he's making preliminary warm-up pitches, or completing an appeal play, or throwing while the ball is dead. Once the pitcher receives the ball from the catcher, the batter's in the batter's box, the umpire puts the ball in play, he has 5 seconds to deliver the pitch. Once an illegal pitcher action occurs, the umpire shall immediately call dead ball and award a ball on the batter.
The pitcher is on the pitching position, the batter's in the box ready to bat. Once you drop your hand, then you start your 5-second count. Don't start counting fast. Take your time counting it. Pretty much you're going to get right at the limit of 5 seconds.
Play ball!
Come on, work it, work.
Jeff, it's out here. It's out here. I got 5 seconds from the time I pulled down. I'm counting on it. If you have a problem with it, in between innings, you go out and you speak with the pitcher. Could you please speed it up a little bit? I don't want to be out here having to call 5 seconds because I'm trying to concentrate on your balls and strikes.
As soon as I get it out there and I say play ball, even if he's not in rubber, he's got 5 seconds. We start calling balls.
If the umpire would signal that the clock starts, now we're going to start counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think you'd get a good feel for that. And really, you only need to do it again in the early innings. Once the pitcher gets the idea that you're going to call that, they'll start delivering the ball because they don't want to have an automatic ball called on them.
Most umpires, they drop their hand, they kind of count it off if they've been talking, and they go forward. I don't mind the 5 second. What I do mind is getting to that mound.
I don't mind the movement, and I don't mind the arc and the speed that's allowed, but there should be a limit. That pitcher should have to release the ball as of a certain time, and the umpires need to do a little bit better job enforcing that.
Most of them are very consistent on the 5-second rule. Once again, they usually only do it if the other team is crying in their ear and you're really pushing it. You know, I always wait 3-4 seconds anyway. If I'm waiting 10 seconds, it's obvious.
As long as the pitcher has a rhythm to it and isn't sitting herky-jerky all over the place for 5, 6, 7 seconds, just don't worry about that.
As far as the 5-second rule, you have to, if they're going to abuse you, you have to get them early. Because the first time they start abusing, you realize they're abusing you or abusing the rule, you'll stop, kill it, give them a ball. And I can guarantee you, he'll speed it up.
I think USSSA strike zone is the best out of any associations, as long as they have a good umpire. If the umpire doesn't allow the flat fastball and stays with everything else in the USSSA style, it's the best game around.
It's really important. What I've noticed over the years and watched the good umpires do is early in the game they set the limits.
It's the bottom.
That's it. There's 4 real limits to worry about when you're batting, when you're an umpire, and what a pitcher's trying to do. They're trying to see how flat you're going to let them get away with throwing the pitch. That's one limit. The other limit is how high can they throw it. The other limit is the speed. They want to control the speed. The faster they can throw the ball, the better they think that they have a chance to get that batter out. And the other thing is how deep they'll let the ball come in. So those 4 limits are what an umpire has to establish very early in the game.
Hey, right now. No flatter, no faster.
No faster, huh?
Yes, sir.
A lot of them push the envelope, but the sooner you go ahead and give that warning, the sooner they'll slow it down, the sooner they'll give you that arch, and sooner it'll become a hitter's game and not an arguing game.
Once he establishes those limits, it becomes easy for a player to adjust, a pitcher to adjust to that limit, a batter to adjust to what I should swing at, what I shouldn't swing at. And then it's just a matter of staying consistent with that limit all the way through.
Ball. I haven't called that pitch yet.
If he's calling that marginal pitch a strike in a game that can't confuse the batter, he seems to be the umpire that stands out as basically the cream of the crop from the rest of the umpires. As a tournament director, we love the umpire who calls that marginal pitch a strike early and calls a lot of strikes. But he's got to set the tone on the first pitch.
Wait a second. That's on the chalk. That curve?
1-1.
I know the good pitchers test the umpires early. They know exactly what they're looking for. They're looking for limits, and they'll go as far. In fact, they'll always try to go farther than what the umpire will allow. You'll see 2 or 3 pitches in the early innings that try to test those limits. And it's very important for an umpire early in the game to be consistent, because after that, the pitchers start to know, all right, I've got to adjust to this guy, and I've got to keep my team in the game. So
play. Yes, sir. Got to be fair.
If we're the home team and you don't get to see him, I go right out, just throw some strikes, see what he calls. But as soon as you get 1 strike, play with it. You know, try to go low, try to go high, see what he's going to give you early on so that it doesn't affect you in the 7th inning.
Third!
It's 3 feet from the release is all I'm saying. That's not
It's a hump. I was clearing his head. It's on a hump.
Hey, 1 out!
After that first strike, I'll throw it a little bit higher than I normally would, trying to see if they're going to call it high or throw it low, or a little bit of speed on it, whatever, just to kind of test and see what they have, what they're going to call.
I'm trying to test my limits as a pitcher. If I kind of pitch it low and flat and the umpire hesitates but calls it flat, I'm thinking he almost called it a strike. So then I still pitch the same speed, throw kind of a knuckleball with a little bit more hump. If he calls it a strike, that's great for me. I know what I can do.
Hey! Yeah, boy. Nice and slow. Get your minimum mark.
After assuming the pitching position, the pitcher must present the ball in front of his body for at least 1 second. It may be either in one or both hands. Once the pitcher presents the ball, there's no restrictions on his windup, whether it be over his head, behind his back, and he stops or pauses as long as he delivers in an underhand motion.
They've got to have the ability to move around on the mound, move their pitches up and down, and work to get the batters out. I think those are some of the things that I've really liked about the rule changes in the USSSA for pitching that some of the other associations don't allow. It really brings the game back down for players like myself who are defensive-minded, who can get in there and make a play and not just stand there and watch home runs.
Realizing the pitcher does not fool too many batters to the extent that they cannot hit the ball, he should not be handicapped by technicalities when developing new techniques for delivery, as long as he adheres to the basic pitching rules.
In USSSA, you are allowed 3 feet from release, and you can do a whole bunch of moves with any part of your body called jukes. You can step off the side of the mound, you can jump off the back, you can spin your arms. You can do a lot of things in that nature.
That's his job, is to try to distract you, get you to step on your front foot and hit off that instead of hitting solid on your back foot.
Any unfairly delivered pitch shall be called a ball unless the batter swings at it. If he swings and misses, it's a strike. If he fouls it, it's a strike. If he puts it in play, it's whatever happens. No unfairly delivered pitch shall be called until it reaches or crosses home plate.
Make sure this bat is set with this guy. He starts before your hand comes down. He starts all his dancing and stuff.
To kind of appease the team that was complaining about it, I told them I'd look at it and watch it, and I'd go out and I'd talk to the pitcher about it. And I went and talked to the pitcher and I just asked him, hey, could you please, pause on the rubber, before you release your pitch.
I don't pause. I know it's an illegal pitch. Will you call a legal pitch or do you not?
No, don't call anything. It'll just be a ball.
Okay, so I can still do it, but if he doesn't swing and it's a dead strike, it's still a ball.
Right.
Okay.
And then he come back with the question, well, what happens if I don't pause? And I just told him, well, nothing happens. I just don't call it a strike if it is a strike. And he understood and said, but if they swing west, that's correct. So he understood, and he was very, very polite about it. If you talk to them politely and explain to them, all the players are pretty knowledgeable of the game. They understand and they appreciate it that way.
Before the umpire will let the pitcher deliver the ball, he must have one foot in contact with the rubber. That foot is referred to as the pivot foot. It must remain in contact with the rubber until the pitch is released.
When a pitcher's pitching the ball and he's jumping off the plate, he's off the rubber, the ball comes through, you don't call anything. If they swing and they hit the ball, they swing and they hit the ball. If a strike comes through, that's when you call, I have a ball, unfairly delivered pitch.
Putt. Unfairly delivered. Ball. Off the rubber. Ball. You can't jump off the rubber at me.
When he's on the mound, and a lot of times he just bends forward to deliver the pitch, and his foot really isn't on the mound, we don't worry about that. It's the excessive where you can see he's quite a few inches off the plate, off the mound. That's when you get him. But you don't call anything. 9 times out of 10, the batter doesn't even know it, and he's going to swing and hit the ball anyways.
Is he jumping at the batter, creating an obvious advantage to him, meaning way off the plate, off the rubber, and he's got, my feeling, have his first base umpire help him out with that.
Are you going to ask him to watch over here? You tell me he wasn't off the rubber that time. He
didn't signal to me.
I know he didn't.
And I didn't call it either.
Well,
I had him on the rubber.
But you had him on the rubber?
Yes, sir.
Pitch.
Is he off? No, he's not off.
You're going to hold your hand up, and you're not going to let him pitch until you're ready. You control when you want the pitcher to deliver the ball. When all the players are in position, the pitcher on the pitching rubber, the batter in the batter's box, and the catcher in the catcher's box, you drop your hand and direct him to pitch.
Everybody set, guys. Let's play ball.
Play! Set, play! Strike! 0-1.
No pitch shall be declared whenever the pitcher pitches during a dead ball interval.
No pitch! I didn't say play. Wait for me, please. Thanks, Billy.
Strike! 0-1. No pitch, my hand's up. Catcher's got to be in the box, ready to go.
No pitch!
Man, you ain't giving me strikes and you call no pitch.
You say verbal, you never gave it back to me.
Really got to concentrate when you're behind the dish, doing any level. It doesn't matter. You get into a championship situation, you've got to concentrate. You've got to be in control of the game as well.
Work it, Paul.
Play!
Work it.
Strike! It's enough. That's enough. He's coming down here. Let me know when you're ready again.
Come on, work here.
No pitch. Play.
I asked him, please don't throw the bats.
Yeah, yep.
Keeping the game moving in between pitches, keeping the game moving in between innings. That is all key ingredients to having good game control, but first and foremost, communication skills. He has to be able to communicate with his partners, and he has to be able to communicate with the managers for both teams, pitchers, catchers, just the whole ball yard. He has to be able to communicate with them.
As an umpire, when I was calling balls and strikes, some of the most difficult games to umpire were those in which the pitcher would not or could not adjust to what I would consider to be a fair strike zone. They wanted that pitch time and time again. In a lot of cases it was the deep pitch. The catcher would catch the ball, a 10-foot arc pitch. It would come all the way back to the catcher, and I wouldn't call that a strike, and the pitcher would not adjust by throwing the ball a little shorter or a little lower to get that pitch. And I'd go out and talk to them. They'd come right back and throw the same pitch. And sometimes some pitchers aren't talented enough to be able to adjust to that, but still I think it's fair to be consistent. You've got to establish that.
Pitcher, it's important to communicate with him. If we got a flat pitch, if we got a deep pitch, give them the signal that it's flat. Give them the signal that it's deep, so he knows what he has to adjust to get to your strike zone. No, back here. No, on it. 2 balls. Strike! That's a full count.
Hit him in the foot and call out a strike. Just stay consistent.
That's a good pitch.
Not a good pitch.
Come on,
Play.
You need to adjust. One ump might give you that 11-foot pitch just because he doesn't have a good eye on it. However, the next game, the guy might think a 9-foot pitch is a 10-foot pitch. So you have to adjust yourself to every umpire. I think it's very important.
It's up to the managers, the pitchers, and the hitters to adjust to the style of the umpire, not the other way.
All umpires are different in one aspect or another. And one's going to give you a little bit deeper strike, one's going to give you a little bit higher, one's going to give you a little bit lower, and even maybe a little bit more speed. So you have to adjust, the pitchers have to adjust to the umpire. If they don't, they're going to have trouble the whole game.
No, that's back here. If you're consistent, that helps. I mean, he's going to try and get the pitch he wants. If you don't give him that first one over the shoulder, then, you know, he may try it again. Nope. He come that high, he can't come that deep. And just keep being consistent and let him know that if he's too high, that he's too high, and bring it down. And if he brings it down and it's a good ball, then give him a strike, and that helps him know where your zone is, because he really needs to adjust to you more than you need to adjust to him.
We're representing USSSA from the time we get to the park till the time we leave.
Be confident with your call. Be loud when you make your call, and everything will fall right into place. Batter, I got your time till you're set, sir.
Come on, let's go.
Jeff, make sure I get a good look, sir.
Jason!
Play ball!
I have to say, having played in several different U-Trip and other worlds, this was some of the best umpiring I've seen in a long time. 80% of them were hard, hustling, asking, and in the right position as much as possible. I was thoroughly impressed this year with the umpiring of USSSA at this World Championships in Disney World.
You can tell by the way an umpire carries himself, whether he's comfortable with the game, whether he knows the rules himself. It's all how he carries himself.
I think number one is hustle. That's always the key. And then the other thing is just the professional appearance. If they look sharp, if they go out every game looking like that they're ready to perform at their highest level, then I think that that sets the tone for their game and their tournament.
My job is to do the best I can, stay out of sight, as best I can, and I think these guys would agree with that.
As a tournament director, the greatest compliment that I can have regarding the umpires that have worked that tournament is no comment. That they just become a part of the ebb and flow of the game, and when the contests are finished, that there haven't been any comments.
It stems back from my grandmother Carducci, how she told me, you never get anywhere unless you work hard. And I, as an umpire from 1984 on, and it says right in that rule book, first rule says hustle. Neat appearance, you know, professionalism, and that's what I've done, and I've pushed it to the limit where it's made me a good umpire. Be consistent on your strike zone. If the pitch comes in flat, call it flat. Show the pitcher that the pitch is flat. If it's too tall, let them know it's too tall. Come over the shoulder, not a good pitch. Hustle at all times.
Ball! I missed it. I missed it. I missed it.
Pretty much be honest. The batter knows, the catcher knows. If you explain it to him why you called it a ball, why you called it a strike, they live with it.
Play. Pitch. Ball. Full count. Yes, sir.
How much higher than that, foot?
He's throwing it right at me. That's not even
Going
close.
close?
No.
That's not close?
No.
Pitch.
See how that's up and down?
Okay.
If that crosses, I'll call that.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, excellent. You know, there's nothing I hate worse. I still pitch. There's nothing I hate worse than some guy calling flat strikes, and guess what? I know exactly where they're coming. Your reflexes take over, and it's...
Oh, I know. That's right. Yeah.
Well, I just pretty much explained to him that it was a good pitch. I got a 3 foot from release. The pitch floated over, and it landed. Landed behind the plate, caught a corner, and it's a strike. And he pretty much agreed. But he's doing his job. You know, the manager will always do his job, whether you call the pitch right or wrong. He's going to come out there and do his job and show his players that he's behind them.
Yes.
Strike! Made it! Yes, sir. 1-1's a count. Play! Strike 2! Right there. That pitch was right there. I had no choice.
Those guys are standing in the box knowing it's strike, and you're sending them to first. 2 people did that. They thought it was a strike.
No, the one I called too tall. It's way too tall. That's an ASA pitch. I know what that ASA pitch looks like.
When we start the game, I like to try and get a rapport with the catcher, not come up with some kind of better than thou attitude that I'm in charge. I want him to feel like, you know, if there's questions, he can ask and I'll answer his questions, and just kind of, you know, get along with the catcher, because he'll communicate to the pitcher if there's any problems whatsoever.
Here we go.
Inside.
Inside. Cut out.
I was always taught, if you're going to miss in the first one. Give him a chance to redeem himself, redeem yourself, if at all possible.
As a plate umpire, if you're forceful, if when you have a strike, it's strike, as opposed to strike. You gotta believe that it's a strike call, and you gotta believe in your call.
Now, if you start a ball game off and the pitchers are throwing the 3 foot right on the borderline, if you call them strikes, You keep them strikes the whole game. If you do that, you won't get any flack from anybody. It's consistency is the key.
An umpire being consistent for little guys and big guys, for the 10th hitter as well as the 4th hitter, those are the kind of things that I like to see from an umpire, so that they're consistent throughout the lineup. You know, it makes it fair for all the players that way.
If I have no clue what an umpire's calling, if I pitch the same pitch twice and one's a ball, one's a strike, it really disrupts the whole game. It gets in my head and I can't do my job effectively.
When I see an umpire that doesn't give a deep strike and has a consistent strike zone, whether it's a little fast or a little high, as long as it doesn't cross behind the back shoulder for a strike, I think he's got the beginning of a good foundation.
If you're mixing like this, he'll say something right away. Sometimes before the game, sometimes, you know, in the first inning. Like I said, if the guy calls unfairly delivered, he calls it consistently. He doesn't just pull it out in the 6th inning.
As you can see, we have discussed many different parts of the pitching rule. The challenge is to recognize each one of these and make a consistent judgment on each and every pitch from the first to the last. Consistency isn't something that we can teach, but hopefully the techniques you're learning will help you become a more consistent umpire.
These umpires here again, who have been here all weekend, can take this knowledge back, share it with people, and even though they may have been working for 4 or 5 years, or maybe even 25 years, you can always learn. Life is a learning process. If you're satisfied with what you know right now, your learning curve is over. You're not going to be that best umpire that you can be. And that's what this whole thing is about, to be the best that you can be, the best that you want to be. Always have these goals you want to strive for. You want to get higher and higher.
I think I've respected umpires a lot more since that experience for myself. I know what they go through. A lot of the players don't know the rules. They argue about things that really have no basis, and I've learned that as a player it helps me to know all the rules, because then I know how to establish myself with relationship to an umpire, especially as a coach now too, that I'm moving into the coaching side.
Have as good a time as the players do and be able to chit-chat and talk with everybody else as well.
USSSA umpires are, I believe, they should be out there to have fun. They should have a good attitude.
I try to bring a have fun attitude. I mean, I know this is serious ball out here, but if you come out here dead serious, may not have a problem, but chances are you can have a problem.
I'd like to thank all the umpires in USSSA. My feeling is you have the toughest job in the game.
To take on the challenge and the expense in that way, it's just the love of the game. Because if you're here for the money, you're in it for the wrong reason.
This is the goal that you reach out for, okay? You work all year long, work hard learning your rules, regulations, requirements, and working the hustle, and this is the payoff, working for something like this, the World Series.
Just tell them that how much fun it is, and you know, hard work that you got to do it. You know, you may not get to come for several years. Like I say, I've been doing this 13, 14 years. You don't get to come right away, but just if you're good enough, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, you can come places like this, or you know, start some other tournaments, around state tournaments, and work your way up, and just stay after it, because it's worth the trip down here to do this.
Oftentimes you see here at the ballpark the t-shirts that say, "Softball is life." Well, that's a great comment, but don't forget, you as a ball player, you as an official, you need to have your family involved as well. You're a team. When you're out here on a softball field, you're part of a team, and your family is just as important.
Before this video ends, I'd like to take this time to thank Gary Schlickman, our official videographer, and the players, directors, and umpires who've shared their views with us today. I'd also like to thank you for supporting USSSA and all we do.
I want to thank every one of you for doing your job, because without you, there is no game.
I'd like to leave you with one last thought on what I think is the most important part of being an umpire, and that's your attitude. We are each in control of our own attitudes every day. The A is for how we act and react to the difficult challenges that present themselves. The first T is to think about how we're going to act or react when those challenges actually do present themselves. The second T is to have a thorough knowledge of the rules, whether it be in the game of life or softball. The I is for integrity. Do not let anybody buy you or own you. The last T is to be thankful for the ability that God's given us to recognize those challenges. The U is to understand the rules of the game and the people that play. The D is for dedication. You need to dedicate yourself to being the best person or umpire you possibly can. The E is for enjoy. Enjoy it for what it is, not for the fame or fortune. It's only a game. And USSSA is the best game around.
This is what it's all about, guys.
It's what you think about when you start every year, don't you?
Am I nervous? Are you kidding me? Oh boy.
Well, the only other thing that I could add is that Disney's working really hard to come up with a cap that will fit our executive director from Louisiana, that Buckethead.
I'll tell you no dirty jokes or nothing.
Okay, yeah, I know, I got to behave too.
The Buckethead has one question he wants me to ask you. How'd you hit him this week on the golf course?
Very often.
Okay.
You know, some of the challenges.
Whether he's on or whether he's off the rubber when he pitches.
Right.
Has he held on to that ball for 5 seconds or more?
Yeah. Oh, see, I needed that ball.
The ball's in that dugout over there.
Let's say it basically grow from you know. Good thing you're editing.
You were talking kind of off camera.
Contact with the rubber.
You look good on film, buddy. Can't wait to see it.
Do you need any makeup?
Oh, no, thank you, dear. You're so sweet.
One out. Smile, boys.
A better understanding on calling balls and strikes, we're going to utilize live game action, graphics.
Can you still hear me out there? Okay, just checking.
Seems to where the manager difficulty.
Hi, Mom.
And say hi to Mom.
Last question, I promise. I owe you a beer. I'll buy you a beer.
Okay.
At least 3.
Before this video ends, I'd like to take this time to thank Gary Schlickman, our official videographer, and the players, directors, and coaches. The umpires. Oh, don't put that on there.
Go ahead, one more time.
Before this video ends.